This is Creative Growth, and you are listening to Creative Growth Podcast. How to deal with social anxiety. This episode is for educational purposes. If you're experiencing severe anxiety, please speak to a professional. I will talk about some psychological research and my own experience. So let's get started. You know the feeling. You are about to walk into a room, a party, a work meeting, a dinner with people you don't know well, and something tightens in your chest. Your mind starts running the numbers. Who will be there? What will they think of me? What if I say something wrong? What if I go blank? What if they can tell I'm nervous? And even after it's over, even when it went fine, your brain doesn't let you leave. It replays every moment, every word you said, every pause, every expression on someone else's face that you interpreted as judgment. If that sounds familiar, if social situations feel less like something you enjoy and more like a test you are constantly afraid of failing, this episode is for you. And I want to start by saying something important before we go any further. You are not too sensitive. You are not weak. And you are not imagining it. I will repeat, because it is extremely important. You are not too sensitive. You are not weak. And you are not imagining it. Welcome back to Creative Growth, the space for women who want to grow quietly, intentionally, and on their own terms. I'm so glad you're here today. Today we are talking about social anxiety. And I want to be very clear about what this episode is and what it isn't. This is not a clinical diagnosis episode. I am not a therapist. If you think you may be experiencing severe social anxiety disorder, please do speak to a mental health professional, and I will include research links in the description below. So, what this episode is an honest, science-informed conversation about something that affects millions of women. Something that quietly shrinks their world. Something that nobody talks about. Because admitting that other people makes you anxious feels embarrassing in a way that other struggles don't. We are going to look at the psychology of social anxiety. What's actually happening in your brain? What's actually happening in your brain? We will meet 3 women whose stories I think you will recognize. And I will give you 4 practical tools backed by research, and you can start using them today. Let's begin with what social anxiety actually is, because most people have it wrong. Social anxiety is not shyness. That's the first thing to understand. Shyness is a personality trait, a tendency to be reserved, to warm up slowly to new people. Many shy people are perfectly comfortable in social situations once they've settled in. Social anxiety is something different. It's a pattern of intense fear, specifically around social situations. A fear of being judged, evaluated, embarrassed, or humiliated by others. And crucially, it doesn't go away once you settle it. It doesn't. It can be there before, during, and long after the social event has ended. According to a 2024 editorial published in Frontiers in Psychology, one of the world's leading psychology journals, social anxiety is described as a pervasive mental health condition characterized by intense fear and discomfort in social situations, often leading to significant impairment in relationship, work, and daily life. And here is a statistic that I find both sobering and oddly comforting. Social anxiety disorder is one of the most common mental health conditions in the world. Research suggests it affects roughly 12% of people at some point in their lives. In women, rates are consistently higher than in men, partly because of how women are socialized to monitor, manage, and interpret social relationships from a very young age. Research published in the Journal of Psychopathology and Behavioral Assessment identified several factors that maintain and perpetuate social anxiety once it's established. I want to walk you through the most important ones because understanding them is the first step to interrupting them. After you hear them, leave in a comment 1, 2, 3, or 4, the one that you are most familiar with. The first is called self-focused attention. When you are socially anxious, your attention turns inward during social situations. So instead of focusing on the conversation, you are monitoring yourself. How do I sound? What does my face look like? Am I being boring? This internal monitoring ironically makes you perform worse because your cognitive resources are split. The second is anticipatory processing, the mental rehearsal that happens before a social event, running through everything that could go wrong, reliving the worst version of what might happen. This keeps your nervous system on high alert long before you've even arrived. The third, and this one is so important, is post-event processing, the replay. The detailed mental review of everything you said and did after the event is over. Searching for evidence that you embarrassed yourself. This is the loop that keeps people awake at 2 a.m. And the fourth is safety behaviors. The things you do to manage anxiety in the moment. Staying quiet so you don't say anything wrong. Checking your phone so you look busy. Deflecting questions back to others. These feel helpful, but they actually prevent you from discovering that the social situation would have been fine without them. They maintain the fear. So what is actually happening in your brain when social anxiety kicks in? Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, is detecting a threat. And here's the thing. Your amygdala cannot distinguish between a physical threat and a social one. To your nervous system, the possibility of social rejection or embarrassment registers as danger, real danger. The same kind that would have meant exclusion from the group in the ancient world, which for early humans meant death. So your body responds accordingly. Heart rate increases, breathing shallows, muscles tense, thoughts accelerate, and you are primed for fight or flight in the middle of a dinner party. A comprehensive 2024 analysis published in Frontiers in Psychiatry, which reviewed 10 years of social anxiety research, found that the neurobiology of social anxiety involves heightened amygdala reactivity to social threat cues, altered prefrontal cortex function, affecting emotional regulation and disrupted social cognition, meaning the brain processes social information differently in people with high social anxiety. What this tells us is simple and important. Social anxiety is not a character flaw. It is not weakness. It is a neurological pattern, one that can be understood, interrupted, and changed. Again, it is a pattern that can be understood, interrupted, and changed. And this is a great news. And the research on how to change it is generally hopeful. Let me show you what it says. The first story is about a woman I will call Anna. Anna loved people. She genuinely did. She was curious, warm, interested in others. But social situations cost her an enormous amount of energy. Not during them, but before. Before any social event, a birthday dinner, a work social, even a coffee with a friend she hadn't seen in a while. Anna would spend hours mentally preparing, running scripts in her head, imagining what might be asked of her and rehearsing her answers, anticipating awkward silences and planning how to fill them. By the time she arrived anywhere, she was already exhausted. She had pre-lived the event so many times in her imagination that the real version felt anticlimactic. Or worse, it deviated from her script, and she didn't know what to do. What Anna was experiencing is the anticipatory processing loop, one of the core maintaining factors of social anxiety. Her brain was trying to eliminate uncertainty by over-preparing. But it was also keeping her nervous system in a state of low-level alarm all day. The painful irony? All that preparation made her more anxious, not less. Because every rehearsal was a reminder that she believed something could go wrong. The second story is about a woman named Lila. Lila had developed a very effective set of what she called survival strategies for social situations. She always arrived early to claim a seat near someone she knew. She kept her answers short, so there was less chance of saying something wrong. The second story is about a woman named Lila. Lila had developed a very effective set at what she called survival strategies for social situations. She always arrived early to claim a seat near someone she knew. She kept her answers short, so there was less chance of saying something wrong. She laughed at other people's jokes, but rarely told her own. She asked questions instead of sharing opinions. Safer that way. From the outside, Lila seemed thoughtful, interested, and good listener. And she was. But underneath all of that was a woman who had made herself very, very small in order to feel safe. These are what psychologists call safety behaviors. And they are clever, adaptive responses to a fear that feels very real. The problem is that they work too well in the short term, reducing anxiety in the moment, while maintaining the anxiety long term, because you never get to discover that you would have been okay without them. Lila never found out what would have happened if she'd shared her opinion. She never discovered that people might have loved her joke. She kept herself protected from a judgment that, in most cases, was never coming. The world Lila inhabited was smaller than it needed to be. Not because of other people, but because of her strategies she used to keep herself safe inside it. The third story is about a woman named Priya. Priya's social anxiety didn't show up most prominently in the social situation itself. It showed up afterwards. She could get through a dinner, a meeting, a conversation, sometimes even enjoy herself. But the moment she was alone again, the review began. Going through every exchange like footage she needed to analyze. Did I interrupt her? Was that comment I made about her job insensitive? Did he seem annoyed when I said that? Why did she go quiet after I told that story? She would construct elaborate theories about what others had thought of her, based on the tiny signal, a micro-expression, a slightly shorter reply than usual, a pause that lasted half a second too long. What Priya was experiencing is post-event processing, one of the most exhausting and least talked about features of social anxiety. And research confirms that this pattern of real-time and post-event self-monitoring is one of the strongest predictors of ongoing social anxiety, because it generates evidence for the belief that social situations are dangerous, even when they weren't. Priya's social world technically existed, but she was never fully present in it. She was always either preparing for it or reviewing it, never just living it. And now exercises. Here are 4 exercises. Each one targets a different part of the social anxiety loop. Try them. Keep what works. Leave in a comment which one fits you best. Exercise 1 is called attention shifting, and it directly addresses the self-focus problem. Remember, one of the core maintaining factors of social anxiety is turning your attention inward during social situations. Monitoring yourself instead of connecting with others. The practice is this. The next time you are in a social situation and notice your attention turning inward, notice it. Name it quietly. I'm going internal. And then deliberately redirect your attention outward to the other people's face, to what they are actually saying, to the room, to something genuinely interesting about the moment you are in. It sounds simple, but it takes practice, because your brain will keep pulling you back inward. Each time it does, notice, name, redirect. Research on CBT for social anxiety consistently shows that attention training, deliberately shifting focus away from self-monitoring and toward the external environment, is one of the most effective techniques for reducing anxiety in social situations in real time. You cannot fully self-monitor and fully connect at the same time. So choose connection. Exercise 2. Exercise 2 is the hardest one and the most transformative. It is called behavioral experiment, or what I prefer to call drop one safety behavior. Think about your own social situations. What do you do to feel safer? Do you always sit near the exit? Always steer conversations away from yourself? Always check your phone between interactions? Always leave early? Pick one. Just one. And at your next social event, don't do it. Don't do it. This is a form of what researchers call graded exposure, the gold standard treatment for anxiety disorders according to a 2023 roadmap published in the Frontiers in Psychology. The idea is that avoidance and safety behaviors prevent disconfirmation. They stop you from discovering that the feared outcome doesn't actually happen. When you drop the safety behavior and survive the social situation, and you will, your brain updates. It learns, I didn't need the exit strategy. It was okay. It was okay. And over time, those updates compound into genuine confidence. So start small. One behavior, one event, then one more. Exercise 3 is for the replayers, for Priya, for everyone who lies awake reviewing what happened hours after it's over. I call it the post-event reset. And it works like this. After a social event, instead of allowing the unstructured replay to begin, you do a brief structured review. 3 questions only. 1. What went okay? Not what was perfect, just what was okay, fine, neutral, or better than expected. 2. Was there a moment of genuine connection? A laugh, a shared opinion, a moment where you felt present? 3. If I made a mistake, was it actually catastrophic? Or is it something that will matter in a week? Then you close the review. Deliberately. You say, the event is over. I've reviewed it. I'm done. I'm done. And you redirect your attention to a book, a task, a conversation, anything. The unstructured replay always looks for evidence of failure. The structured reviews forces balance. It trains your brain to register the neutral and positive data it would otherwise discard, because anxious brains have a bias toward threat and they need conscious correcting. Exercise 4 is the simplest. and the one with the most long-term power. I call it the evidence record. A small notebook or notes app. And every time a social situation goes better than your anxiety predicted, you write it down. Had coffee with a friend, worried I'd be boring, actually laughed a lot. Spoke up in the meeting, terrified beforehand. My point was well received. Went to the party for 44 minutes, talked to 2 people, left feeling okay. Your anxious brain is keeping its own record. A relentless catalogue of everything that went wrong or might go wrong. The evidence record is your deliberate counter-document, proof in your own handwriting that you are more capable in social situations than your anxiety tells you you are. A major meta-analysis published in 2024, covering 66 randomized controlled trials, confirmed that psychotherapy, including these kinds of cognitive techniques, produces large, meaningful improvements in social anxiety symptoms. You don't have to be in therapy to use the tools. You just have to use the tools consistently. Anna learned to stop preparing and start arriving in her body, in the room, in the moment. Lila learned that her safety behaviors were keeping her safe from a judgment that rarely come. And slowly, one small risk at a time, she let herself be more fully seen. Priya learned to close the review, to let the event end, not just physically, but in her mind. And what all 3 of them discovered, what I want you to hold on to, is this. Social anxiety lies to you. It lies to you. It tells you that you are more visible than you are, that your mistakes are more memorable than they are, that other people are judging you more harshly than they are. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect, the consistent overestimation of how much others notice and remember what we do. Most people are far too focused on their own performance. You are not as exposed as you feel. You are not failing the test. There was never a test. There was just a room full of people, all of them, in their own way, hoping to be accepted too. Before you go, I want you to do one thing this week. Identify one safety behavior you use in social situations. Just one. And the next time you are in that situation, try dropping it for 5 minutes and see what happens. Then come back and tell me in the comments, what was the situation? What did you drop? And what did you discover? I read every single comment, and I want to hear yours. I have linked all the research studies mentioned in this episode in the description below, because you deserve to know that what you are feeling is real. It's studied, and it's understood. If this episode resonates with you, share it with one woman in your life who feels like every social situation is a test she might fail. Because she needs to know there was never a test. Subscribe if you are not already. New episode is coming, always made with you in mind. Until next time, take up a little more space. Drop one safety behavior and remember, the world is not nearly as focused on you as your anxiety wants you to believe. Have a good day and a great week. Bye.